All right. We're starting the recording. We are already recording. We're just waiting for Facebook to go ahead and add me into the live broadcasting. This afternoon, I have none other than the amazing Mr. David Lecko, who has actually took the time out of his day to actually come on my show and actually tell you guys a little bit how you guys can do a lot of different tips and tactics. I also want to do a huge sponsorship shout out to All right. We're starting the recording. We are already recording. We're just waiting for Facebook to go ahead and add me into the live broadcasting. This afternoon, I have none other than the amazing Mr. David Lecko, who has actually took the time out of his day to actually come on my show and actually tell you guys a little bit how you guys can do a lot of different tips and tactics. I also want to do a huge sponsorship shout out to Mr. Larry Higgins and Skip Genie, one of the greatest places that you can get your skip tracing done. If you have any, if you come across any properties that actually, that's worth wholesaling and you can't find the owner, well, go ahead and check out check out Skip Genie. The link will be in the description. Without further ado, now get to the meat and bones of this place, man. What's up, Mr. David? How are you doing this afternoon?
I'm doing great. How are you doing, man?
Man, I can't complain, man. I can't complain. After all the I still can't complain, man.
That's awesome, man. I hear you.
That's good. So tell me, man, how long you been in real estate?
I've been in real estate for about a year. In that time, I ended up buying my first primary residence, and I've rented out 3 or 4 of the bedrooms to friends. So that's helping me really focus to double down any money that I can make buying more real estate.
Wow, you said you've been in the game for a year and you've been doing this successfully for a long time. Now, how many properties do you currently hold?
3 properties. So I have the one that I live in with some of my friends as well. I have a rental property in another part of town in Indianapolis. And then I just bought a house for less than $5,000 that I'm planning to totally renovate and then rent out.
Wow. So now, walk me through the process. Now, with doing wholesaling, and we talked a little bit earlier about that you don't do you don't totally in the wholesaling. You do the buy and hold, and you fix and flip. So walk me through the process of doing a drive and driving for dollars. And what kind of tips and tactics could you give somebody who is brand new in the game, fired up? Now, you're from Indiana, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, I'm from Indiana. And a couple tricks I would say. A lot of people do wholesaling. A lot of people do buy and holds or renovations. And either way, your profits come from buying a property below market value. So that, whatever your exit strategy is, that gives you some room to make some profit. And so one of the great ways that you can find properties below value is by looking for them and seeing a property that has like tall grass, stuffed mailbox, looks vacant, no window blinds. Those are all key indicators that property is nobody's living in it, or there's something not quite right where the owner might want to sell their property and that you could get it for below market value.
Wow. So obviously, I think the camera just like totally turned you into some kind of Fantastic Four, but I'm gonna keep it going though. So I don't know if you can see. Can you see that?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit stretched. I've been working out, man.
I think it's working towards your complexion, man. That's all. So tell me, man, what kind of? So when you're looking, I'm trying to picture this. The best of the ability of somebody who's actually out there driving for dollars right now, who's trying to have some success. and that has been always heard to do driving for dollars. So I'm driving down the street. I see a property, tall grass. How do you reach out towards getting to these property owners?
Well, actually, driving for dollars is like a pain in the ass, for lack of a better word. The way I started doing it was writing down the addresses on a piece of paper, while I was driving. So I'd have to, park essentially to write down an address that I saw. Spend a couple hours, find 15, 20 properties. And then I would have to come home and then bring up the county website, which is just like a really awful interface to be, you have to download like a PDF in our county for each property and then manually type out the owner's address, back somewhere else to look up who owns it and then use another website to send mail. So the app that we created does all of that in 10 seconds when you just press a button and you see a house. You just open up the Deal Machine app, take a picture of it and press a button. Tells you who owns it, and it'll send out mail. It'll also give you their phone number, email address to send outreach automatically that way. So you don't have to think about that property anymore until the owner calls you ready to sell their property to you.
Wow. So tell me a little bit, how does it work? How does the picture of how does your phone, I'm taking my phone and I'm putting it up to a house. How does it work? Is there like some kind of algorithms in it? What makes that actually identify the actual property?
That's a great question. And actually it uses your phone's GPS, much like hailing an Uber. You pull up the Uber app, it shows you a map of your current location, and you just press a button or drag the map over to where you're standing and say, pick me up right here. So our app works very much the same way. And the only difference is you just move the map over to the property you took a picture of. And then that's how it knows what address you're looking at.
Wow. And all of the information comes directly from the county assessors.
Yeah, it does. So you don't have to use their clunky website. And even if your county doesn't have a website, it'll still show up in the Deal Machine app for you.
Man, listen, time is definitely money. So I know for myself, whenever I'm not driving down the street and I come across a property, and like you said, what made you start something like this? First and foremost, what made you start driving for dollars? You said you was writing stuff down and whatnot. Share with us a story on reason why that you got the Deal Machine up and running.
Absolutely. It was July in 2015. When I just, read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, went to my first real estate meetup, and I heard about this way for finding deals. So I went out there and I spent a couple hours driving Indianapolis neighborhoods, and I had 20 addresses I wrote down on a piece of paper. And as soon as I came home, it was like 7 p.m. after the workday, and I was hungry. So I fixed up some dinner, went to the gym, and by the time I got home, I was exhausted. So I just went to bed, never followed up with any of those addresses. And 3 weeks later, I remember I happened to drive by one of those houses again, and I saw this whole construction crew out there, they're getting ready to do a whole renovation. Oh. And I was like, let me look down at my paper in my car seat. I see the address right there. I wrote down, but I didn't follow up with the owner. So it was just a really painful moment for me, where I really disappointed myself. And that's whenever I got the idea. I just stopped driving. I said, I'm going to build myself a really quick system that just looks up the owner and sends out mail. And I just was a software developer. So I just whipped it up real quick in a weekend, started using it myself for about 6 months. And then a couple of my friends heard about it and they're like, I want to use it. So I put it on the App Store, and that's what became Deal Machine.
Wow. And now we have this. So that's crazy. So you basically took the tax assessors, and then you took the Deal Machine and you put it together. You took the best of both worlds, because that's what I do. Before you told me about Deal Machine, you said, well, just take the picture of the property. Just take your phone and put it up to the property, and it's so much simpler than having to ride by, stop, write it down, or even in my phone driving. I know, because it's a huge hazard. If you're driving and you got your phone like this, in state of Maryland, you're looking at a $150 ticket. So I think I'd rather just pay for the Deal Machine and take care of that, so that I can take care of anything else that goes with it. So I'd rather pay that any day versus a speeding ticket. So tell me now, I think you said it already, but just going into it a little bit deeper about the section where once you get the property and now the follow-up system, because you said that you fell off, you kind of beat yourself up about not following up. So tell me about your follow-up system inside of Deal Machine.
Yeah, absolutely. So what it does is it takes that picture you took and it makes a very personal postcard and it sends it out in the mail. You don't have to do anything else but press the button on your app. And the postcard has the photo that you took on both sides, front and back. And so when the owner sees that in their mailbox, some other investors may be sending some mail that just says, urgent, and it's like purple and yellow, and just like all caps. They get a ton of those, so they probably just don't look at them. But ours is really personal. They're like, oh, that's a picture of my house. If they're an absentee owner, it's probably the most recent photo they've seen of their house. So they may not even know it's in such bad condition, which is really funny. When they'll call and they'll be like, oh my gosh, I didn't know my house looked like that. But they know you were actually there at the property. And so we found that gives you a higher call response rate than just like a bulk direct mail. And so the Deal Machine app, you can just set to automate those postcards to go out because they may not call you after the first postcard. Recently, the house that I just bought for less than $5,000 here in Indy, he had received 4 postcards before he called me. And so, whenever he called, he was like, hey, I would like to get an offer on my house. I was like, okay, great. How much do you think it's worth? And he's like, I was hoping you could tell me that. I just had hip surgery and I can't keep up with the maintenance anymore. And so I said, let me meet you down there in a couple hours tonight. And we went from there.
Wow. And you closed on it for 5 G's. Did you ever flip the property? How much did you flip the property for?
I haven't done any work on it yet. But I'm planning on doing about $30,000 in rehab. And I'm planning on renting it out for $800 or $900 a month to students that go to IUPUI, which is a university in Indianapolis.
Wow. So it's going to be like a little college party house. Oh, man. I didn't get that experience.
Hopefully not a party house.
We hope not.
Like a really cheap, tiny house. So that you can study and read and be really quiet in.
Very, very quiet. Make sure you put in the lease. I did a lease option the other day, and we had in there where that you can only have a certain amount of tenants, and the tenants, the owners, like, hold on, how many people do you expect in this property? I said, well, we're going to put this in omit, and we're going to pretend like we've never seen this, okay? So we ended up taking that out of the contract, so I can bring as many people in the property as I want. But yeah, man, that's great. That's definitely great, man. So tell me, man, what kind of things should we expect from your app for the driving for $1,000? What kind of things should we expect in the near future to come from you guys?
Yeah, well, I think it's helpful to start with how much you could expect to make using Deal Machine. So one way I like to call it is instead of driving for dollars, think about it as the 10K for 10 seconds technique. It only takes 10 seconds to press a button in the app to add a property, and you can forget about it. You've got to do that, we found, for 100 or 200 times, 100, 200 vacant or rundown properties in order to get one wholesaling deal for $10,000. So what we found is people can routinely add 100, 200 properties to the Deal Machine app every month, can add $10,000 per month revenue to their business. Or in other words, if you're at $100,000, you can scale it to $200,000 this year by starting to use the Deal Machine app. And so once we've got some testimonials from people start to do that, then we started hearing questions about, like, can I get hired drivers to do this for me? Because if there's 5 of us looking for these, how much could I possibly scale my business? And so you can add team members now. And what we're doing is we're really streamlining how those team members can get added. And to the point where you can post an advertisement on Craigslist with clear instructions to get a quality driver for you that you can pay, $10 an hour, $15 an hour. And the instructions are so clear, they can just onboard themselves to your team in the app and start adding deals. So you'll never even have to meet any of the drivers. It'll just kind of be like systematic and automatic that you can just say, yeah, press a button. I'd like some driving help. And these people will start adding deals for you to scale your real estate business.
It actually works because, I have a partner who actually has a couple of Lyft drivers, maybe about 4 or 5. I don't know if I should give him out his steps now. He has like the actual car magnet on the side of Lyft cars. So as he's going by these different houses and whatnot, it literally says on his car, call if you have a house that you're looking to sell, and they list different reasons why you would sell the property. So I can see how that actually works, whereas you can hire some different Lyft drivers to make these take a Lyft, maybe take like 5 to 10 Lyft drivers. I don't know, from here to from your house to the closest store, which is like 5 minutes away, which would be like $4 or $5. I would actually take that $4 or $5 that work for a ride, talk to that Lyft driver all the way there, get out of their car, and then walk back to the house. On my way there, I'm going to tell them every single thing. I know some people say, well, this might be time consuming, but if that time is consulted to actual tens of fifteen thousands of dollars, so that I can show them how to work that app, I feel as though that would be something I would be way more open to do. Because if they're going to get out driving for dollars for you, that's a potential investment that you're making into this person. So I would show them like, hey, look, I got this app. You got your phone? David? Hey, David, you got your phone?
I can hear you ask, but I can't hear you. The audio is breaking up a little bit.
Can you hear me better now?
No. Can you type it in the Facebook Messenger?
Yeah, can you hear me better now?
No, it's still breaking up a little bit. But if you can ask your question on Facebook, I can answer it.
Okay, so my question was, I'm not sure if the other guys, if everyone else could hear me, but my question was, do you have your phone? Do you have your phone?
I got my phone.
All right. Can you show me how to use the deal machine app?
Say that again?
Can you show how to use that deal machine app?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so here's the app. I can just take a photo. Let's say I'm outside the house. You take a photo of the outside of the house. And then this is the part where you select where the property is on a map. So just like pulling Uber, you can just move the map over to the correct property. And then it's going to tell you exactly who owns the property and where the owner lives. And you can see how much they paid for it, how much their mortgage is on it. You can see specific property data, like when it was built and what school district it's in. And then you can actually press a button to send mail to it. So let me click the preview button so that you can see exactly what the mail looks like. It takes just a second to show up.
Wow. And that's
all right, so it's got the photo that you took on both sides. And then it says, I'm interested in buying your property at this address. I would take it in any condition. I can close quickly and with cash. If you're interested, please call or text me. Have a great day. So that's exactly what it says.
You just send it directly out.
Yeah, you just press a button and that thing gets printed and mailed the same day. So you don't have to have a bulk amount. It just goes out one at a time as you find the properties, which is really important because the sooner the owner hears from you, the better, and the sooner they'll call you.
So typically, what's the fastest you've ever closed a deal using the app? I know now I will say this for those who are viewing results are not typical. So, but what's the fastest you've ever closed a deal using your app?
Great question. So there was a really great story from Keith down in Chattanooga, Tennessee, from MedCore Investment Properties, and he sent 64 postcards and he got 4 deals for $5,000 each. And so he made $20,000 within just a couple of months and less than even 100 postcards. Now, like you said, that's atypical, but I think it's really powerful to show. He was just using this Deal Machine app on his way to work when he saw houses with tall grass or that looked run down. And we found more realistic expectations are if you add 100 or 200 properties to this thing, that's about how many it takes in order to get one deal for $5,000-$10,000 wholesale profit.
Wow. So literally, now let me ask you this: I do know most apps. I'm not an app that I've never really created an app or anything. But let me ask you this: is the app able to be used while offline? So, like, let's just say you take a picture of a property and your phone dies for whatever reason. Would that picture still be on the app, or does it reset it?
Can you say that again? You broke up just a little bit. I want to make sure I heard the question.
So I'm driving down the street. My phone charger is at home. I take a picture of 5 to 10 properties. But my phone dies on the last property. Now, will that picture still be there, or does it reset? Because I know this is sometimes a technical issue with phones, because everybody's phone dies.
Yeah. Well, as soon as you take a photo of the app, it gets uploaded with the app. The photo gets uploaded into the Deal Machine system, so it's going to be there. So you can look at it on your phone. If you're with your friend and they have their phone, you can just install the app and log in on their phone, and the picture will be there. You can also look at the properties on your computer. So just as soon as you take the photo, it gets uploaded.
Also, on your computer as well.
Yeah, so you can look at it on the desktop just like you do on the phone.
You have the ability to share. Does it show that you share your screen on your end?
Yeah, let me try that real quick.
Yeah, can you show us that? That would be actually interesting.
All right, there's the share screen button. All right, start sharing. Can you see that?
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so these are all the properties that I took. It's called Home Place, Indiana, and it was just annexed by this town called Carmel. And so Carmel's average home price is probably $500,000. Home Place average home price probably much lower than that. So I think this area is going to appreciate a lot. So that's why I actually walked up and down a lot of these streets in Home Place, and I took photos with the Deal Machine app. So here's just an example. This property on College Place was owned by this guy named Eric Boswell, and so far he's received 2 postcards from me. So I could click in here. I could see who owns it, and I could even do an enhanced search to see if I could get in touch with this guy via email or phone. And it looks like he does have a mobile phone number and an email here that I could give a call to.
Wow. Wow, that's so. Okay, so is there a way that you can show us that you can walk through the templates? Could you show us the templates? Play around with the app a little bit. I'm pretty sure you have a tutorial for it already, but I just want to, not excited, but I just want to show people the different, things that you offer with your app, so that they can use the app more, to show them how this can be more like a household use, essential product that they need for their business.
Absolutely. So the first thing that we did was give you the flexibility to create your own template. So you can make it say whatever you want. We provide you with some defaults, and I'll start with that. So I like to send this template. It's for any house, whether it's vacant or not. This is a message that works for anybody, any homeowner. And it just says, is this your property? I'm interested in purchasing your property at, and then we'll fill in the address of the property. I would take it in any condition. I can close quickly and with cash. If you are interested, please call or text me. Have a great day. So whether or not they live in the house or if it appears vacant or not, this is going to work for any house that you see. A couple of fun things that some of our investors have utilized is they invest in 2 different cities, and they found that the response rates can be higher whenever they use a return address that is local. Same goes for using a phone number with a local area code. So you could set up a template for Indianapolis, and then let's say you also invest in Cincinnati. You could set another template up and put in a return address that's in Ohio for that one. And whenever you've got drivers or you yourself are in either of those cities, switching the template is really easy. You just go down to the property and you just change the template over. Oops. I keep clicking the wrong one.
Yeah, having technical difficulties like me.
Yeah, so then you can just switch your mail template, and you can do a quick preview as well to make sure the mail says exactly what you want it to.
Wow. That is beast. That is beast mode. And so how many can I send at once? Is there a limit to how many I can send at a time?
There's no limit to how many postcards you can send. My personal record is capturing 73 properties in 1 hour. And when I was driving home, all the mail and the owner lookups were all taken care of, and I didn't have to think about those ever again. So I was just really pleased with that, considering where I started, totally forgetting to follow up with all those owners. It just is all taken care of for you.
Wow. Now, I asked this, I had stated it, but now I have it as a question. Do you have a tutorial for the deal machine?
I do. So we have a quick start guide that we share with all of our new customers as part of their onboarding. It's about 2 minutes long. It covers all the basics to get started with Deal Machine.
Okay. And I see something down there that's just poking at me really, really badly. What does that get free leads over there?
Oh, yeah. So you can get $5 of free credit by sharing Deal Machine with your friends. So all you have to do is just give somebody this promo code, and when they start an account, you both get $5 worth of free mail. So if you're a member of a Facebook group, you can share this promo code, and if 10 people download it, you're going to get 10 times $5 worth of credit in Deal Machine to spend.
Wow, that's great. That's good because then so it's $5 per. So every single person that signs up and they spend $5, or they get
yes, exactly. Yep.
Wow. So if you send out at least I don't know, was it 40? Was it 40? I've never sent out because honestly, I don't send out postcards. I actually like getting on the phone. But hey, everybody has their own methods, their own exit strategies. So I get on the phone with them. So let's just say I want to spend 48 cents per postcard. Do you guys have a set amount, or is it everything goes through the deal machine? You guys have a set amount?
What do you mean the set amount? A set amount for what?
To send out postcards, not to pay for postages and the postcard and the ink. Well, I'm pretty sure not the ink part, but is there an amount that you pay per postcard?
Yeah, it's 99 cents per postcard that you send. So if you think about that in terms of return on investment, if you're going to send out 100 to 200 properties in order to get a $5,000, $10,000 wholesale profit, you'd spend about $600 on Deal Machine if you mailed to each of those properties 3 times. So you spend $600 on Deal Machine to get a $5,000 or $10,000 profit.
Yeah, because that's still a huge ROI. Because even if you have to typically send the postcard 4 to 7, even if you do it 4 to 7 times per property, you can kind of see how the math comes out to whereas you'll be better off, going through the deal machine because you already have the picture. You don't have to do any of the work. Because I'm the type of person like, listen, if I can push a button, and like you said, it takes 10 seconds, but if I can push a button and just send a postcard, let me do that. I'd rather do that. Let me push this button.
Right. Yeah.
I'm really thinking about it. Like that's key right there. Like everything you just said,
right.
Code, all that.
Right. You could compare it to the time and cost of training a virtual assistant and retaining that virtual assistant, making sure they're doing their job. This is just completely automated way of accomplishing the same task systematically, predictably, consistently. And so, yeah, it is a much better return on investment than typically like you'd get from bulk direct mail as a comparison.
Wow. Wow, that's wow. Man, you got me blown away. Listen, if you guys have not downloaded the app already, there's going to be a link in the description for you guys to go ahead and get on this Deal Machine app. I definitely want to thank Mr. David Lecko. I said it correctly this time, right?
Yeah, it's Lecko, actually. Really close.
Lecko, right?
That's right. You got it right that time.
I get it that time. So, Mr. Lecko, is there anything else that you could add to add some more value to people? That about the Deal Machine. This is a very wonderful app. I'm sold on it already. I'm literally about to go ahead and get started on my deal machine, and I'm gonna test it out again today after we get off this phone call. So, what else can you tell me about the Deal Machine app?
Yeah, I would say we haven't talked about this too much, but you can add team members to it. So if you've got a mailman, if you've got like a niece or nephew that's home from college, all you can do, you can actually, pay them a little bit to drive for you, and they can add deals for you. So you basically just add their email address. They get instructions on how to join your team. And then for any deals added, you can track who gave you what deals. You can approve them to have mail go out. And so that could be something you think about that really scales your real estate business even beyond $100,000 a year to $200,000 a year when you've got team members adding deals for you.
How many teammates can you add? Is there a limit?
It's unlimited. So you can add unlimited team members. The team members cannot spend any of your money. So they just submit deals and then you approve them. And you can use your desktop interface, just like I am right here, in order to approve those deals that come through.
Now, is there a way that you could show us a bit how, now I know you took a picture of the other side of your room. Is there a way that you could show us like how the actual acceptance goes along?
Do you mean how to approve a deal?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So
just to show you guys a little bit that this can be something serious for the business. Like this can be life changing right here.
Yeah, for sure. So you just have to filter your deals by pending approval. And these are some test ones that we were doing. Let me find one that's actually a house. Okay, here's one. And then there's a blue button that just says approve and send, and that's all you have to do.
Wow. Hey, man, listen, I'm going to get started real quick. I'll be right back now. Wow.
Yeah, so the way to get started is just to start your 14-day free trial. It's completely free to start. You get 5 credits to send 5 pieces of mail or do 5 enhanced searches to get the phone number. And you can do that at no cost. And you can just do that by going to the link we're going to put in the description.
Wow. So you guys have it. I definitely want to thank Mr. David Lecko. Got it that time for coming on the show this afternoon. The app is called Deal Machine. It's going to be in the App Store, but you guys can click on the link in the description so that you guys can get over there and actually get the app. Now, we were going to do a live giveaway. David, is there a way that I can do a giveaway for this app? I want to make sure I have this live so I can ask for his approval for it. Is there a way I can do a giveaway? I want to give somebody a free trial for the first month. Their whole first month.
Yeah, let's do a full month trial for somebody.
Let's do a first month trial for somebody. All right, so what do we have to do in order to do the first trial? Well, I want you to go and review the app, and let's see what else is good we can do. I want you guys to review the app, do the first month trial, the 14-day trial. What else can we do to get these people over there to the Deal Machine?
Yeah, I think that's it. You really just want to download the app and start the trial. And if you want to leave some comments in the video that we're doing right now, I think we could probably pick from somebody there to do a free trial.
All right, that sounds good to me. So there you have it. You pick up your smartphone. It's already in your hand 24/7. You don't sleep without it. You don't wake up without it. So you get on there. You go to Deal Machine. The link is going to be in the description. So I want you guys to go to the App Store or your Google Play Store and screenshot your review. Once you reviewed it, I will pick David and myself will go through there and we will pick out and we will give you your first month free. It will go from the 14 days all the way to the end of the month. So you get your first month free. And I'm going to do that for David to do one, I'll do five. So that we have it. Mr. David, I definitely appreciate it for sticking there for the interview. And I definitely look forward to hearing you guys at #1 sales on the App Store really soon.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me on the screen today.
No problem. I definitely appreciate it. All right, well, you guys go ahead and follow. Where can we find you, Mr. David? Do you have any social medias? Anywhere we can find you, or is there customer service? How do we get in touch with Mr. David if we need some help or with the deal machine, or do you have a set team for that?
Yep. Well, right in the app, there's a little chat. And if you go to our website, there's also a chat where you can chat with me or one of our team members. And the website's dealmachineapp.com.
Oh, there you have it. So, with that being said, I definitely appreciate you guys for your time. You have an amazing day, and I'm out.